Good morning, Mount Pleasant Dragons. Mr. Auerbach here with your morning announcements, coming at you live.
Our adaptive playground ensures that kids with and without disabilities have access to play on playground equipment.
Or one super strong one, right?
Yeah, so what could we say about his performance?
So maybe that would be something on the way to speak.
His dad was running.
Whether we're going to take turns through paragraphs.
The engineering students have done an amazing job of visualizing how to make things that really help people with disabilities create art and express themselves.
Again, everybody wants to clear. They're going to get
like putting on a coat. Oh!
Hip hip! Hip hip! Hip hip!
So today I wrote one of my favorite books, Don't Let the Pigeons Stay Up Late.
Right on the baby skirt. There you go. 1 and 2 and 3 and breathe. 1 and 2 and 3 and breathe.
All right, so it works, right?
Sure do.
Okay, we're good to go. So hopefully next time when that one pops up, we'll be able to pick that every time and get it to work.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
I've been with Harlan for 11 years. I was an intern in the district, and then I got hired, and I've been here ever since. And I love it, and I just feel like it's where I'm meant to be, and it's what I'm meant to be doing with my life.
Say you want to be a nurse, that's your goal. Or you want to be a doctor, or you just want to be in healthcare in some sort of form. And this is like your ladder, right? You're starting somewhere. I don't say foot in the door, I say this is your stepping stone to where you want to go.
Aquarius, but you don't know about the stars yet. What you know about is the moon. Which are at the daytime or nighttime?
There you go. Yeah. There you go. Yeah, sorry. It's going to be a lot faster than an actual adult or teenager would listen.
2 on at night, 365 days a year.
1 and 2 and 3 and breathe.
Good morning, Matt Meyer, County Executive here at Lancashire Elementary. It's a beautiful, almost spring day here with Senator Kyle Evans-Gay, Representative Sherry Dorsey-Walker. We're doing something really exciting thanks to healthy food for healthy kids.
So what happens now? Seriously, things did not go well up there.
most tender years of development, life threw a curveball, disrupting what we knew and forming our current ways of life. Every decision made and step taken in the past 4 years got us to where we are today. Every tear, every sleepless night, every Zoom call we fell asleep on, each moment of joy and the hard work has all paid off.
We are a collection of passionate individuals with unique backgrounds and interests. We are the National Honor Societies, the Black Student Union, the Gay Straight Alliance, the Asian American Club. We are mentors and student council advocates speaking up for a better Concord. Together, we have demonstrated the power of collaboration, inclusivity, and empathy. We have proven that we can make the most of any situation, that we can find joy amidst chaos, and that there is not one reason to doubt us.
Whether we knew it or not, our time at Mount has been defined by the We Are acronym: accountable, respectful, and engaged. These are not mere words. They are principles that have shaped and prepared us to make a positive impact on our local and global communities.
When I reflect upon my educational journey within the Brandywine School District, I'm overwhelmed with a sense of appreciation for the many teachers who have led us to be here. These individuals have not only shared their knowledge with us, but they have also become true sources of inspiration and role models in our lives. Their influence has extended far beyond the confines of the classroom, instilling in us values like responsibility and integrity that will guide us for years to come. Thank you for your unyielding commitment to our growth, for believing in us when we sometimes doubted ourselves, and for being the extraordinary educators that you are.
While tonight is great, this is not our final finish line. The truth is, we have a lot more finishes to go. As we move on with our own journey and start our new course, heading to the next finish line in our own lives, it's important for us to remember that true success is when we can influence those around us in a positive way.
As we part ways, let us remember we are equipped with the knowledge and the skills that will carry us through life's challenges, the compassion to courageously navigate the world, and the determination to make a positive difference.
Will the graduates of the class of 2023 please stand?
I congratulate you, the class of 2023. You may now turn your tassels from right to left.
It is with great pleasure that I say to you for one final time, class dismissed.
En anglais. How do we say that in English? Star. Ça c'est très bien. Star.
There's the bus! We're gonna go see Miss Anna and Miss Marguerite.
So what do you think? Higher or
Yeah, higher.
Good job, Lucy.
Take care of the environment.
You got it. Take care of the environment.
How are you going to work responsibly in the classroom?
Help people when they need help.
Brave men who work while others sleep, who dare while others fly. They build a nation's pillars deep and lift him up to the sky.
And have a small glimpse into sacrifices these fine men and women have given to the United States of America. Thank you to all the veterans in the world that have fought for our country. Proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget all those who died, who gave their rights to me, and I proudly stand.
Ooh. How many blocks?
2.
Almost 2.
Oh,
Good.
Some daily tasks that seem easy present unexpected challenges for the millions of Americans with independent living disabilities.
Go ahead, give it a hit.
Devices like the one shown here, called power links, allow those with physical disabilities to control appliances with an assistive switch. However, these can be cost prohibitive for those who need them most.
Cost is huge in special ed, right? Everything is so expensive. When you have a person with disabilities, everything, the markup on every product is massive.
Last year, we took on the challenge of developing affordable alternatives to this technology. While we succeeded in creating effective devices that performed well in real-world environments, their labor-intensive designs limited their large-scale impact.
This year, we sought to create a device that would be easier to manufacture at an even lower cost. By designing a printed circuit board, we could get hundreds of vital parts assembled quickly and easily for less than $5 a piece.
To create a robust enclosure for the Assistive Appliance Control Unit, or AACU, we turned to leftover PVC remnants from construction sites. By upcycling this frequently discarded material, we are helping to decrease the 7 billion pounds of it that enter landfills yearly in the US.
With that in mind, we drew out some ideas focused on a small and easily assembled form factor. 3D modeling was key in ensuring the components fit just right.
We found that our AACU performed well in extreme use environments, such as adapted physical education classes, where high-impact collisions are more common.
Home run!
However, schools aren't the only places where the AACU can have an impact.
We may age into some kind of disability at some level. We know that we don't have to give up that healthy, active, and engaged lifestyle. And students such as these young gentlemen really help to make that happen through their design and through moving their projects forward.
By creating a device that can be easily assembled using household tools, we hope to benefit each of the 10,000 Delawareans with independent living disabilities, with help from community partners. For example, our district's Skills for Independence, Transition, and Employment program gives young adults with disabilities the opportunity to practice employable skills through product assembly and other services.
Their prototype could really help change the lives of those facing severe physical and cognitive disabilities by providing a cost-effective tool to help them navigate everyday tasks.
We can see that the technology exists to give anyone the ability to live more independently. We believe that with the right model, those who need this technology won't have to worry about the cost.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Lincoln Holler. I'm superintendent of the Brandywine School District. I'd like to first start out by thanking you for coming out tonight to hear more about the referendum that is coming up on February the 13th. We've got a number of presenters tonight that I would like to introduce. First, we have Mr. Kenny Rivera, who is our assistant superintendent, Mr. Jason Heller, vice president of the Board of Education, Mr. John Scrobot, president of the Board of Education, Ms. Jill Flore, our CFO, and finally, Dr. Lisa Lawson, our deputy superintendent. We've put together a slideshow that has evolved over the last 2 months as we've been doing many of these presentations. And as questions have come up over those presentations, we've tried to embed those pieces into the slideshow to make it as informative as possible. If you have questions as we go through, kind of hold on to them because they may be answered in the rest of the presentation. Then if there's still questions at the end of the presentation, we'll be happy to take and address them. So with that, we're going to get started. And oh, I'm sorry, we've got some other board members with us tonight. We have Dr. Sean Jegaday. We have Ms. Kristen Pigeon. And we have Mr. Ralph Ackerman. So I think we've covered all of them. Thank you for pointing that out. With that, we'll turn it over to Mr. Scrobot. Oh, Mr. Heller.
All right, thank you. So welcome everybody. We're so glad you came out and are tuning in online to learn about all the facts and details surrounding this referendum. So I'm happy I get to present this portion because I first became introduced to Brandywine School District during the 2016 referendum. So I had relatively recently moved into the state from New Jersey, and of course, you know, our kids were in the school and we were all happy with that, but my wife tells me there's this referendum vote coming up and how important it is. And where I came from and where almost everybody else in the country comes from, you only go to referendum when something major is happening. You want to build a new school or something like that. And I didn't quite understand because I was hearing, no, this referendum is just kind of to pay the bills. I'm like, doesn't make any sense. So I came out to these meetings, several of them, to try to understand it myself because it just didn't make sense to me that that's the way that it worked. So I learned more than I wanted to about referendums, but it also convinced me to go all in on the district, and ever since then, I've been fully invested in this district in some way. So in this building we're in right here, I was president of the PTO here for 7 years. I'm currently treasurer of Brandywine High School PTO and their volleyball program. I've started 2 nonprofits that both give back to the district in some way, and this is my 6th year on the board, but it all started because I didn't understand the referendum. So I get to explain why we do referendums in Delaware. And to try to clear that up, to understand what this is all about, and then we're going to share more about why we're doing it now. So school funding is super complicated, right? There's a million different buckets, and they all somehow interrelate or are not allowed to interrelate with other buckets. But if we break it down simply, there's 2 types of school funding. There's operational funding and operational referendums, which cover just simply the day-to-day operations of the district. This is the part I didn't understand. Right, this is simply the money to carry on what we do every day. The other type of school funding and other type of referendum is a capital referendum. This is what every other state does when you need to build a new school or do significant rehab or renovations to a school building. So capital money covers the cost of major construction projects. Operational is literally the day-to-day operations of the district to keep us running right where we are today. So this referendum that we're talking about, we've done capital referendums in the past. This referendum is only an operational referendum. The purpose of this referendum is to continue to pay the bills that are required through the day-to-day regular operations of Brandywine School District. So what are those costs that are covered under an operational referendum, right? There's nothing big or special or new in this referendum. We're just trying to cover the costs. So things that are covered under operating funds are maintenance of our buildings. We have over 2 million square feet of buildings. All extracurricular activities, sports, clubs, programs, summer programming, all of that is covered by operational funds. all of our technology programs. We have almost 15,000 devices between student devices and teacher devices that all need maintenance and updates and upgrades and repairs. That's all covered through operational funds. All of our para-educators that allow us to reduce class size by having more adults in the classroom with our students. Almost 1,000 classrooms between our 16 buildings have to be cleaned and maintained every day. Our arts programs. So we're probably the only district that I know of that offers a theatrical performance or a musical performance for almost every single day of the school year. 164 concerts this year. Our bus fleet runs all the time, right? Before school runs, after school runs, during the day for trips, and then all the sports. My daughter plays sports, and I know she doesn't get back till 10 o'clock at night sometimes from some sports. Our buses run all the time, and it surprised me to learn we use almost 14,000 gallons of fuel a week on our bus fleet, paid for out of operational funds. And then, of course, by far the largest part of our operating budget is people. Over 80% of our budget pays salaries and benefits of the staff that run this district. So over 1,000 teachers, plus we talk about paras, maintenance, custodians, bus drivers, cafeteria workers, groundskeepers, everything that goes into running the district, people-wise, is over 80% of the budget. So why does Delaware require operating referendums? This is why. I don't think there's any debate that expenses continue to rise, right? We all feel it ourselves. Expenses are always increasing. Every other state, with the exception of 3, has a built-in mechanism to make sure that income also rises to match expenses, but not Delaware. Delaware requires a referendum to set the income level for a school district. So we go to referendum, we ask the voters to approve an income level for the school district, measured in cents per $100 of assessed value, and voters vote yes, and that sets the revenue level for the school district. That never changes under any circumstances unless we go to another referendum. So as you can see from the chart here, expenses continue to rise, and at some point they exceed the revenue. But we can't go to referendum every year, right? It's unrealistic. This is more than a year-long process to do this referendum, so we have to plan for 3 or 4 years, which means that initially, after referendum passes, we're actually bringing in more money than we need, so we're operating at a surplus. At some point, the revenue and expense lines cross, and then we're operating at a deficit and spending down that surplus that we brought in the first half of the referendum, until we get to a point that we're at today, where there is literally no more surplus left to cover the expenses for next year. And that's what triggers a referendum. So we go back to referendum, we ask the voters to adjust the revenue to match the current expenses, and then this whole process repeats itself over and over again. Then we operate at a surplus for a little bit, then the lines cross, and then we spend down the surplus because we're actually spending more than we're bringing in, and then we get to a point where there's not enough money to cover the expenses for next school year. And then another referendum. So the important point that I want to highlight on this slide is this isn't an indication that there was mismanagement of money or poor spending. This is literally the design of school finance in Delaware. The only way to fund schools in Delaware is through this referendum process. This is the design. It's not a result of anything that happens. So how did we get here today? So our last referendum was 2016, which is when I first tried to figure out what this is all about, right? So we had said at that time that that referendum should last about 3 years. There was a hope that maybe we could get 4 years out of it, but here we are, 8 years later. So how did we get this 2016 referendum that should have run out in 2019 all the way here to 2024? So 2 big things. One is the fiscal stewardship of the school district. So we have a district finance committee. That's a committee made up of community members that have an expertise in finance, along with a couple of board designees, and they meet monthly for hours and review every dollar that comes in and out of the district to make sure it's being spent responsibly, and that we're using every dollar as efficiently as we can. And then they report back to the board monthly on what they find. In addition, we've had staff members and administrators that go out for grants and money that's not anticipated in the budget. And since 2016, those teachers and staff members and administrators have made almost 17 million, am I right? 17 million dollars in grants. It was unanticipated revenue. So that kind of pushes the deficit spending down the road a little bit. And then COVID happened. So with COVID came lots of federal money, right? Unanticipated money. And that helped us continue to run the district and just pushed that period where we start deficit spending further down the road. So instead of deficit spending in middle of 2017, it pushed that deficit spending number year all the way out to just a couple years ago. So that allowed us unanticipated revenue from fiscal stewardship and ESSER funds, which expire this year, allowed us to push that deficit spending date further out than we would have ever been able to anticipate. So that leads us to the point that we're at today, though, with the expiration of ESSER funds and the normal referendum cycle, that the District Finance Committee and the board has determined that we cannot meet our expenses next school year without an increase in revenue. And we're going to talk more about details of that in a little bit. And now Mr. Rivera is going to come up and share what we did since the last referendum.
Thank you, Mr. Heller. So Mr. Heller made a really important point that on his first slide, is that in this upcoming referendum, unlike our past referendums, there are no new initiatives. The ask is for us to be able to maintain our current programming and our very talented staff. So we went back to the 2016 notice of election and the presentations the district made at that time. And we made a list of, this is what we were asking our community to invest in. As a parent and a resident of this district, I think it's really important for us to be able to look at that investment to see how did we deliver on that, especially since we are asking to maintain these programs and not add anything new. So we're just going to look at a few of these from this list to take a little deeper look at what we've done as a district since 2016. First and foremost, we were about educating our children. It's about the academics. We will be the very first to tell you that we are not satisfied with the academic proficiency level of our students today, understanding that every school and every district in the country will say that right now because of COVID as well. Our students were out of school for 18 months to 2 years. We know it made an impact, and we are working extremely hard to increase those proficiency numbers. At the same time, we are also extremely proud of our district's growth numbers, where our students were at the beginning of last year and where they are at the beginning of this year, and the growth they've had since coming back from COVID, which has been remarkable. Our schools have begun to receive national and statewide recognition for certain academic achievements. Just about 4 months ago or so, the U.S. News and World Report released its top high schools in every state. U.S. News and World Report, you know, they have all the top rankings of top hospitals, top universities. They also do one for top high schools in every state. So they released Delaware's, and all 3 of Brandywine high schools, that would be Brandywine, Concord, and Mount Pleasant, were in the top 5 in the state of Delaware for comprehensive public high schools. And that ranking comes from looking at academic proficiency scores, including on AEP Advanced Placement, IB, college level type classes and exams. Next was about 1 or 2 months ago, the College Board, who runs the AP exams, has their own recognition. They named 6 or 7 high schools in the state of Delaware that received their highest honor, which is being named the College Board AP Honor Roll Recognized School. Brandywine High School made that for their achievements on advanced placement exams. Every year we have national merit scholars from the schools and even students who make the U.S. Physics Olympiad team. We still want to see much further growth from all of our students, but our students are also shining and competing with the very best students in this state and in the country, and we're proud of that. The other thing that we value and we're proud of is the college admissions. It's something that keeps me up at night sometimes thinking how I'm going to pay for college, how my kids are going to get admitted into college, how they're going to persist through college. And our students are being admitted into the most prestigious colleges in the United States. This is just a very, very small sample of the schools that our students were accepted into last year, including a couple in the past month who were accepted into the Naval Academy and West Point. Our students received over $45 million of reported scholarships last year. And that's just reported. That means that's just what they tell us. I'm sure it's more than that. We talked about expanding pathway options. We expanded different communications, journalism, where those students won national awards from Mount Pleasant High School. But also what we've looked to do is to look at where the careers are going to be in a decade or two, and which of those careers are going to be high-wage jobs. And so since the last referendum, we've added 2 more pathways that are of high interest, and lots of students are trying to sign up for these pathways, and will result in high-wage salaries upon graduation or if they continue to further study in these fields, and that was biomedical and computer science. We also have pathways in which students will receive needed career certifications while they are in high school. So by the time they graduate high school, they will have a certificate in that field to be able to go and work upon graduation. So we have culinary art programs in our school where they get the Serve Safe certificate. You may see that certificate chefs will have up at a restaurant that's required to be able to work. And then we have another one called Patient Care Technician, where students can receive medical certificates, be able to be employed the first day after graduation and receive good paying jobs. And here's a few photos from this Patient Care Technician. This pathway is also one of our dual enrollment programs, which we promised back in 2016 we would explore. We've done more than explore this. We are offering many dual enrollment classes. What dual enrollment is our high school students are taking college classes inside Brandywine High School, Concord High School, and Mount Pleasant High School. So they're getting college credit and getting their high school credit at the same time. And there are social studies classes, math class, an entrepreneur class, and then we have the biomedical. Now the biomedical is the patient care technician. This one's slightly different because we actually transport our students to Del Tech during the school day and back, and they actually take these college and high school classes at Del Tech because of all the medical supplies that are needed for that. 100% of our students who have been enrolled in this program have passed all the state certificated program, and so when they graduate, they have all the needed certificates and can be employed day one. Quite amazing. Next is our STEM programming. You won't find another district in the state that can compete with our STEM programming. We begin in elementary with not only some of the classes, but also the partnerships we have with nonprofit organizations and our own after-school clubs that continues into middle school. And then you hit some of the pathway programs when you hit high school. We're going to talk a little bit more about some of the STEM clubs and partnerships we have in a slide coming up here in a minute. But I want to highlight one of our major awards we received last year. Students from across the United States, and actually it's a global competition too, from the very best high schools in Delaware and throughout the United States participate in the Samsung Solve for Tomorrow competition. This is a STEM competition where students create a design of innovation and they compete. Our team from Brandywine High School went on, won the state level, went on, made it to a national final competition, and ended up winning the entire national competition against the top high schools, top students. Millions of students participated in this. We won first place in the nation. On top of that, which I think, and with that came a $100,000 award that the CEO from Samsung flew over from Japan to DC to meet our students to give them that award. Quite impressive. I think, personally, the more impressive award this group won was the Employee Choice Award. All the Samsung employees also got to vote on the project that they thought was the most innovative project. And the Samsung employees all picked Brandywine High School. And these students designed a device that made it people with either disabilities or older seniors who have difficulties turning on devices have an ability to have access to turn devices on and off. A product like this is out there on the market, but they were able to design how to make that product for a very small fraction of the price. By the time that this team graduated high school last year, they already had a patent for this device. I mean, it's impressive the work they're doing. But you may be saying, well, that's a one-time fluke. Nope. Students from our high schools have been a state finalists or won the state competition and gone to the national competition multiple times in the last 6 years. And just about 4 hours ago, we just found out that another team from Brandywine High School was just named the state finalist and now have gone on to the national competition as well. So now they're down to the last 50. These students, I haven't seen it yet, so I can't really explain it well, but these students have designed an adaptive board game in which students with children with disabilities will be able to have access to play the games. So one last point on this. It's not only the engineering piece that goes into this, but I really love the empathy, the compassion, the care that went into these devices that are seeking to help other people. I think that speaks a lot to the values in which we're also trying to teach our children in the Brandywine School District. Lastly, athletics. So we talk a lot about academics, but we also we look at the whole child. And we know that a lot of students come to school because of the athletics as well. We also know that this helps teach citizenship, leadership opportunities, and our athletic programs are doing very well. And part of the operating referendum and the operating budget goes to support the extracurricular and the athletic programs, such as our sports. And our sport teams are performing. Just the season that just ended, the fall season right here, we had 2 conference championships and 3 flight championships. 396 of Brandywine School District students were awarded the academic all-conference recognition this past fall. This means you had to be a varsity athlete and have a 3.2 GPA or higher. So when we talk about our students being student athletes, yes, we understand they love to compete, they love to get better at their skill on the field or in the court, but they're student athletes, students first, and we continue to focus on that student piece, and they're achieving there as well. Last year, we had 4 of our secondary schools be awarded the DIA Sportsmanship Award out of 7 schools in the state. Again, we're focusing on more than just winning, but how you go about winning and losing means a lot. We're teaching sportsmanship to our students. They're becoming better citizens. And we had 27 students who were all-state athletes last year. I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Lawson.
Thank you. So again, just highlighting what we promised in 2016 and what we've accomplished. Back in 2016, we had 3 school resource officers in our schools protecting the safety and security of our students, and 1 Wilmington police officer. In 2016, we said to the community, we are going to try to expand this program so that we have safety and security for all of our schools. We can proudly report our progress now in 2023. We have 6 school resource officers covering all of our secondary schools, all 3 middle schools, all 3 high schools, and we've been able to add 3 constables to our elementary schools. Now, our constables are put in elementary schools primarily or exclusively for safety and security, but also to build those positive relationships with children so that children see them in and around the schools and know that they are safe and secure. And our parents are very excited about this delivery as well since 2016. Here's a piece that is behind the curtain that you don't see in terms of what we've accomplished since 2016. Our children are on devices all the time. Unfortunately, when COVID hit, they had to be on devices much more than we wanted them to be. It's really important that we have levels of protection on our devices, technological protections, so that if children are in distress or they're in trouble or they are typing some things into the computer or chatting with their friends that an adult needs to know about, we have the appropriate monitors around these types of technological devices. So 2 of these, 3 actually, Gaggle, Go Guardian, and Stop It Solutions really get at the mental health supports for our children, making sure that they are being appropriate online, making sure that they're not in distress and need adults' help and supervision. We've also upgraded our cameras. We have real-time access to our cameras that can see what's going on in schools. We also have state agencies that have access to our cameras. In the event of a crisis or something troubling, we do have law enforcement that can see cameras in our schools in all places at all times. We've read and heard some serious tragedies and want to prevent these kinds of things from happening in BSD. We have the ability to notify our families to get to you very quickly with Regroup, and then our emergency management suite with Navigate 360. What else did we promise in 2016 and deliver to you? We had 3 renovation projects that we believe we delivered not only very fiscally responsibly, but we believe that they're aesthetically beautiful as well. Not over the top, but they're absolutely beautiful. Carcroft was our first and foremost. We needed a safe entrance. With tragedies happening in schools and people getting in the front door and getting access to children too quickly, we needed to change that. So the entire front of Carcroft was redesigned so that it is safe and secure. It is also the cafeteria and the classrooms got a beautification effort as well. Claymont, same thing. When you entered Claymont, there was a conference room that many folks were using that was on the 2nd floor, and you had to go through the school and go upstairs in order to access the conference room. We needed to make sure that our school was safe and secure and that our children were away from entrances and that our entrances were safe. And so once again, Claymont was redesigned in that aspect from the outside. The beautiful purple we got at discounted rates. Don't get John Reed started on that. And again, we made our schools beautiful for an excellent price. And then lastly, Brandywine High needed a lot of renovation. It was a school that you drove by and thought, that school needs some beautification. We now can have performances and plays in an auditorium that has appropriate sound and lighting, and we did some really nice upgrades with the money that we had. This was a big one. Our elementary school families were saying, well, you know, middle school sports is great and high school sports is great, but what about elementary school students? And I think we saw, again, with COVID, the lack of interaction our students were having with each other. So one of our promises in 2016 that we do believe we delivered on is after-school programming. In elementary school, you can join flag football, you can join the chess club, you can join Vex Robotics. We got Odyssey of the Mind started this year. Even if you're not a sports kid, that's okay. There's plenty of things for you to do after school. We've been able to begin after-school tutoring as well. Elementary basketball, if you haven't been out on a Saturday or a weeknight to see Elementary Basketball League, it truly is worth the time. We have cheerleaders that are showcased. They're working very hard on their routines, and the girls and boys basketball teams are awesome to watch. We're really trying to allow our students to interact as much as possible, stay away from the screens, and play team events, team sports, as well as interact with one another. Extracurricular happens at the middle and high school level. Again, since 2016, we have delivered in terms of trying to expand our options for students. We were the only district in the state to be chosen to put on Disney's musical Frozen. We think that Mount Pleasant High School did a fabulous job, but what was so great about this as well is that we had some of our elementary and middle school students auditioning to be part of this play. So we're seeing where our high schools and middle schools and elementary schools are connecting with one another, and students are getting exposed to, well, what's at the next level? What happens after that? And they're able to aspire to be something more as they grow. We've mentioned Vex Robotics and the nonprofit Brandywine bots. We've brought home a lot of trophies around that, but again, it isn't about winning as much as it is about our students getting together, building something together, competing and working together and being able to travel and go see other teams from other states and have that kind of exposure. Definitely a shout out to our board member, Jason Heller, who has supported the Brandywine Bots program and all it has brought to this district. We would be remiss if we didn't mention Math League. Again, we continue to try to offer academic, athletic, visual arts, performing arts. We try to get at all of students' different interests. This is two renowned teachers at P.S. DuPont Middle School who it seems like every time they take a Math League set of students to a Math League championship, they come home with a first place trophy. In this case, last year, their two teams from PS actually tied for first, but not one student got one problem incorrect, so they had to actually give two first place to the students. And then, of course, the 7th grade team took second place. So again, we are very proud of what we offer in this district and the passion that our teachers bring to be able to get students involved after the school bell rings for the day. We've mentioned the visual and performing arts, but earlier than ever, our youngest students can access violin, band, chorus, orchestra, choir. We are really trying to get students involved early and then giving them the opportunity to move through grade levels. We have jazz band, we have steel drums, we have opportunities for students galore. We're very proud that we've been named for the 5th year Best Communities in Music Education. And, you know, there's thought out there that, oh, well, you know, if your kid is a visual and performing arts kid, you're going to need to go over here to this visual and performing arts school. You don't. You have the access right here in the Brandywine School District, and one of our middle schools actually had more all-state choir selections than the actual School of the Arts. Lastly, and certainly not least, we have to talk about what we've accomplished since 2016 in the way of our educators. They are the heartbeat of what we do here. Since 2016, that was just 8 short years ago, we've had 2 of our teachers named Delaware State Teacher of the Year. Brandywine has had more teachers named Teacher of the Year than any other district in the state of Delaware. We are so proud of our educators here. You can see some of the other accomplishments that our teachers have strived for and actually won, but the reality of what this means is that they love what they do. You want to wake up every day and want to go to your job and be passionate about what it is you do. Our teachers are passionate about what they do, and they love our students. Did you know that almost 75% of our educators here in BSD have achieved a master's degree or higher? They want to be the best in their craft, and so we want to be able to retain all of them. We don't want any of them to not be part of our family next year, and so we wanted to let you know what our educators have accomplished so that you will help us in supporting to retain all of them. So we've talked about what we accomplished since 2016. We promised when we asked for 28 cents on every $100 of assessed value of your property back in 2016, we delivered everything we just talked about in those slides. That's part of what we promised. So what is it that we're asking for now? 8 years later, what are we asking for in terms of this district moving forward. We're asking to continue and to maintain what it is we're doing right now. That's basically it. Everything that we've talked about, safety and security, attracting and retaining our educators. We have some non-traditional alternative programming we would like to keep. We have students who have needs that exceed our comprehensive schools, whether that's in mental health, social emotional, attendance, academics, and we have smaller settings, and we have worked with companies to be able to assist some of our students who are not successful in the traditional school setting. We'd like to be able to continue that programming. Our gifted program, I have a proud graduate of the IB program from Mount Pleasant High School, our AVID programming. We have students who are first generation college goers, and that program supports them in getting to college and getting through college successfully. We would like to retain all of what we are currently doing. Our technology, our devices, and then just our standard of living here in BSD. We want our facilities and our schools to be clean and neat and good places for students. And we believe we have a high standard of maintenance, and we'd like to keep that.
Thank you, Dr. Lawson. Okay, so when the CFO comes up, here's where we get to the charts and leave the pictures. But the beginning of the presentation is so important because it's about the investment. It's about what's happening in the district. The numbers tell another story, and that is come June 30th balance. That's the middle column. And the reason why the June 30th balance is important is because for a school district, taxes are due to the county on September 30th, and we don't receive them until October. And so when the taxes are paid, when the fiscal year ends on June 30th, we need a balance, a sufficient balance to get us through the receipt of taxes in September. So that's the barometer, or that's the target that we look at and what we need. And what the Finance Committee and Board have set as the target is $8.8 million. So we know in this current fiscal year, 24, we're projected to end at $5.9 million, which is less than that needed and necessary balance to get through the receipt of taxes in October. And so it's the trigger, and it's why we're here and talking about this referendum now. And as Mr. Heller said, this has been a long process. We've been working on this for a year now from the Finance Committee and the Board. And if we do nothing, right, next year, if we do nothing, the amount of cuts that would be needed just to get to an ending balance of $7.3 million, which isn't sufficient. Remember, that's $8.8 million. So just the amount that's needed is $6.5 million. And $6.5 million is a seismic, huge cut across the district. That's the red line on the bottom. The district, as Mr. Heller said, is funded with different pots of money. The two largest ones are state and local funds. These are the operating funds from the local side that would be required, and the blue lines represent the local funds budgets. And so $6.5 million in red, you can see the total local safety and security budget. That's what Dr. Lawson talked about with our SROs, constables, cameras, all of that barely crosses that first line in terms of expenses. The total curriculum, that's all of the books and materials and learning supplies that students have, again, barely crosses that first line. So the number of cuts needed to get to that $6.5 million is significant. In addition to that, because every position has a state portion of funding and a local portion of funding, that local portion of funding would total 117 positions that would be needed to be cut across the district. We're here, we're talking about this, we're saying a referendum is needed now to avoid this. We don't want this to happen, not that we don't have cost containment efforts. Our budget since 2016 has increased on average, annual average of 2.2%. It has not been wild spend, it has not been significant growth. It has been very measured, very contained, because that beats the rate of inflation if you projected it out from 2016 to now. So all that said, the work that was done was multiple models and financial forecasting. The last line on the bottom is 28. In 2016, we said we promised we would go 3 years. So all the modeling has been done for 3, but still looking at 4. Can we stretch it and maintain and get to as long as possible, because this process is a difficult one to go through, but also right-sizing it and asking for the right amount. There is no greater responsibility, I think, from the school district standpoint in terms of asking taxpayers to increase their taxes. We do not take that lightly, and we want to bring the best and most responsible and reasonable proposal forward. And so multiple scenarios were looked at. Do we need it all at once? The amount that's needed is 45 cents. And I'll talk about what that means to an average assessed value. But the amount that's needed is 45 cents. But this slide shows, how do we get there? Do we need it all at once? And that far column shows, I said we need an $8.8 million balance, but we're carrying 16 million, 16 million, 15 million if we ask for it all at once. We're not a bank. We shouldn't hold taxpayer money. So that one was quickly discounted. The last column, can we stretch it as far as we possibly can? Can we incrementally increase it over 3 years? That doesn't get us quite to the balance that we need and would not put us in a position where we can make our obligations and expenses. So that middle column is where the board and the finance committee landed in terms of what was needed. It would be over 2 years, 25 cents the first year and 20 cents the second year. So what does that mean for a house? And this is going to be in 2 parts. Our superintendent's going to talk about property reassessment, which is currently underway in Newcastle County for 2026. But right now, we are all assessed at values based on 1983 dollars. And so that tax rate has been fixed because assessments have been fixed since 1983. People talk about a fixed income. The district essentially has a fixed income because that assessed value has been fixed since 1983. And so at the average assessed value in Brandywine, it's 72,701, which sounds implausible. What house is worth 72,701? But that's, again, based on 1983 values. And so we actually had somebody during the finance committee say, all right, I'm going to look up my property. And they were like, oh, wow, I am average. And so what that means for an average home in Brandywine is the increase, that 25 cents the first year would be $182 or $15 a month. And in the second year, 20 cents would be $145, which is $12 a month. We've done this presentation now over the last month, and in some faculty meetings, there was somebody from Pennsylvania who raised their hand and said, I just want to tell you that was my increase last year, not just going back to 2016. That was 1 year. And this is really bringing us back from 2016 to, did I say 1986? 2016 to current. But that is the amount that is requested. We're going to talk about reassessment. Oh, you don't need a microphone, so I'll just give that.
Before we talk about reassessment, there's an important point that we need to point out. We're talking about assessed value. And what's the difference between assessed value and market value? Well, the picture on the left is a house just down from district office that sold July 31st of this year. It sold, you can see, for $355,000. That was the market price. In order to find out the assessed value, you have to go to the Newcastle County parcel search. When you do that, it will tell you what your assessed value is of your property. So for this $355,000 home, you can see that its assessed value is $60,100. So for this home, year one would be an increase of $12.52 per month. Year two would be an additional $10.02 per month. Again, very important to remember, there's a difference between market value and assessed value. You can, there's an assessment calculator on our district website, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on. You can also go directly to, again, Newcastle County parcel search. So the big question, boy, how does this reassessment effort impact the referendum? Well, there's a lot of things going on, a lot of misconception out there. And we read online, well, when the reassessment happens, the districts are going to rake in the money. Not true. By law, the districts must be revenue neutral after the reassessment happens. Can we wait until reassessment is done? Well, you just saw in those last slides, we're at the end of that deficit spending opportunity. We can't afford to wait. Revenue neutral is the key. Now, another thing that we've heard and we've been reading online is, okay, but the law in the reassessment piece talks about an opportunity for the board to increase taxes by 10% as part of that reassessment work. Well, here's a little secret. The board annually sets the tax rate. In code, the board has the ability to use that 10% now. But Brandywine has never taken that approach, nor do we anticipate taking that approach moving forward. So very, very important to remember. It's not something new. That's in current code right now that the district could utilize any given year when it sets the annual tax rate. So when we think about how revenue for the district is determined now, pre-reassessment, again, they're using 1983 assessment values times the determined tax rate gives us the total district revenue. Post reassessment, FY26, we know that those property values are going to increase. That's what the reassessment is going to do. But by law, the district revenue has to stay the same. So how does the revenue stay the same when you're bringing in greater dollars around assessed value? There's only one way to do that. The district is required then to lower and adjust the tax rate so that it is revenue neutral. Now, we've thrown a lot at you, and we want you to be able to share or review information around what a referendum is, what the district is in need of, and what the request is of our local community. So we've put together an instructional informational video that is currently on our district website that you can share with friends, neighbors, community members who might have similar questions. So we're going to play it. It's a short video. It's like 3 minutes long. Take a look.
13th, 2024, the Brandywine School District will be asking voters in our community to support an operating referendum. This referendum is absolutely critical to continuing to meet the needs of our students, and it is important to be aware of what is at stake. If the referendum fails to pass, we face $6.5 million in cuts across our district, which will impact every aspect of the school day and the educational experience of over 10,400 students, from class sizes to instructional materials, staff and programs, to athletics, clubs, activities, and more. In the state of Delaware, school districts are required by law to get voters' approval to increase property taxes, known as a referendum. Brandywine last held a referendum in 2016, with the commitment it would last for 3 years. Property assessments have not been updated since 1983, so local district funding has not increased since the last referendum in 2016. It is hard to balance budgets for that long without additional funding, but through strong fiscal stewardship, federal assistance during COVID, and $16.8 million in grant writing, the Brandywine School District has been able to stretch the last referendum for an impressive 8 years. Brandywine School District has a long-standing district finance committee made up of community representatives along with members of the school board who monitor and provide oversight of district finances. In early September, this committee unanimously determined a referendum of 45 cents is needed in order to continue supporting our 16 schools. The school board agreed and voted unanimously to proceed with bringing the request to voters. In order to minimize the impact on Brandywine taxpayers, the request is to phase in this increase over 2 years, with 25 cents July 1st, 2024, and 20 cents July 1st, 2025. Based on the average assessed property value in the Brandywine School District, the increases would also phase in for $15.15 a month in the first year and $12.12 a month in the second year. Property reassessment is currently underway in Newcastle County for the first time in 40 years. While reassessment will update assessed values closer to market value, when completed in 2026, reassessment will not increase tax collections for the Brandywine School District because the district is required by law to reduce the tax rate to remain revenue neutral. Even though local district funding has not increased since 2016, inflation and the cost to maintain our essential programs, staff, and instructional support has increased considerably. This funding request focuses on maintaining critical programs and services for students and classrooms. Successfully passing on February 13th will allow the Brandywine School District to continue attracting and retaining high-quality educators, maintain the safety and security of our 16 campuses, repair and replace student computers and interactive classroom technology, continue the upkeep of our 16 buildings and grounds, covering 2.2 million square feet and 400 acres across the district, and continue the outstanding instructional and extracurricular programming offered throughout the Brandywine School District. Thank you for taking the time to understand why this upcoming vote is so important for our students and schools. We hope you will join us in supporting the Brandywine School District referendum on February 13th.
Again, that date is February the 13th, the day before Valentine's Day. We also have several sister districts who are going out to referendum as well. Red Clay is going out on February 28th for a similar ask. They're going for 50 cents in operational requests, plus additional requests for capital. And Colonial is also going out. And their ask, I believe, is 44 cents. For operational with an additional capital piece. So you can see that Brandywine's request is right in line with those other districts because they too had some of that COVID relief money. Some of them have gone to referendum even sooner than 2016. So please mark your calendars for February 13th. And remind your friends, neighbors, and other community members to come out and vote in this very important referendum. What's at stake? Again, we've prepared a short little video. Actually, Mick Austin, sitting here at the front table, put this together, and it does give you an idea of just what's at stake. You saw in the presentation from Ms. Flore, the size of that deficit compared to other pieces of budget in our overall school budget. A $6.5 million cut is going to be catastrophic. It will impact every division, department, and facet of our programming in this district. We're currently in a teacher shortage. We have single-digit vacancies in our district right now. We have sister districts who have 60+ vacancies right now. Should we be unsuccessful in the referendum, the district is looking at having to let go valuable teachers. Teachers that once they're let go, bringing them back or finding replacements are going to be incredibly difficult, if not impossible. So we need to really focus on getting this referendum passed on February 13th so that we don't have to let those valuable employees go. With that, we're going to take a quick look at the What's at Stake video.
Composed of 16 schools across 400 acres, the Brandywine School District supports over 10,400 students and employs more than 1,100 teachers and paraprofessionals. On February 13th, we are asking you to vote for an operating referendum that is necessary to maintain our critical programs and services, and, most importantly, to support our educators, the heartbeat of our district.
There is nothing quite like the magic that happens in the Brandywine School District. My experiences at Brandywine High School absolutely shaped the course of my life after high school and beyond, and I am honored to be able to come back and serve the school district that motivated me to become a teacher in the first place.
I work with a collection of people that believe in growing children. That's what I want to do. I want to be somebody that helps set a foundation for children to love learning. And being a kindergarten teacher, that's what my job is. It's to make sure that they come in and they learn how to be students.
You know, when you do something you love, it's not really a job, and that's how I feel here at the Brandywine School District. We're not only helping them with their academic goals, but creating children in our society that are kind and compassionate and loving children. And so forming their conscience and caring for them in that way too is very important to me.
I'm proud to be BSD because this is a supportive environment for staff, for students, for parents, and I see the product of this school and this district, and I'm quite proud of the kids here.
We hope you will come out to support the Brandywine School District, our programs, our services, our students, our educators.
Before I turn it over to President Scrobot to wrap up the presentation, you may have seen an article on WDEL. Last week, Cecil County Public School District had to announce that they're facing cuts of 184.5 staff members. We estimate that we're going to be having to cut over 100 staff members. To put that in perspective, Cecil County Public Schools, they have 30 schools in that district. We have 16. So proportionately, the cuts that we're facing are even more devastating than those of Cecil County. I can't stress enough how critically important this vote is to the Brandywine School District, to the services that we offer the children of this community. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Scrobot.
So how can you help us continue the great work that we're doing that you've seen here this evening? First off, the big win. We've talked about it tonight, February 13th. Asking you, mark your calendars tonight. Put a reminder in your phone. Ask Siri or Alexa to give you a reminder on the 12th and the 13th. want to let you know who can vote. You do have to live in the Brandywine School District. You have to be at least 18 years old. This includes anyone in your house. If you have current students in the district or recent graduates still residing with you. You do not need to be a registered voter with the typical general elections. You can just show up. We'll get to the ID piece. You do not need to own property. If you're a renter and you reside in our district, you are eligible to vote. You do have to show that you are a U.S. and Delaware citizen, and that is your proof of identity. That includes your address, whether that's your driver's license, state ID, passport, any other street address, utility bill, rent receipt also qualifies. And if you're unable to get to the polls, you can request an absentee ballot. As a district, we cannot provide that for you, but our website, we'll show you at the end, does have links that can take you to the Department of Elections to request the absentee ballot if that's what you need. Where to vote? The Department of Election tells us where the voting locations will be. Turns out it's every school in our district with the exception of Harlan Elementary, because P.S. DuPont Middle School is right around the corner, so they just made one location there. And we do have the addition of the Claymont Public Library. I thought we had one more slide. So I just kind of want to close out with a couple comments. We talked throughout the night that this is not an ideal process. It's somewhat archaic, and we wish Delaware didn't have this process for referendum. We wish our state legislators would revamp the school funding model in order to fund our schools in a more efficient way. But as we've gone through with the district representatives and the board members, doing this roadshow over the last month, and will continue up until the 13th, it's another opportunity for us to be open and transparent with the community. We feel we're a very transparent district with our finances. We do financial reports every month at our monthly school board meetings. We have the community oversight group that was mentioned that reviews the finances. So again, it's just another opportunity for us to showcase some of the great things that are happening in the district that we would like to continue. I'm a product of the district, born and raised K through 12, raised my family here. I have children in the district now. I know firsthand the opportunities that are available to our children, and that's only possible with the investment from you. So, we're asking a couple things. Go to our district website. You can find the presentation for this evening, the videos that you saw. Share it with your family, friends, neighbors if they couldn't make it out tonight. And in closing, we're asking you to invest in our students and invest in your community, whether that's through the people, through strong schools, strong property values. Make that investment and allow us to continue to do all the great things that you saw here tonight. And we'll see you on February 13th.
Before we entertain questions, we do have we announced several members of the board who are in attendance. If any of you would like to make a comment.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. Sean Jagaday. I'll make a quick comment. I'm the newest member of the school board, and I'm also very, very vested in the Brandywine School District. I am a parent of 2 high school students in the district. My sister is a teacher in the school district, and some of you who keep track of social media, you may have seen that my nephew also graduated from Brandywine School District. And the reason why I say that is because almost every one of the programs that we've talked about in this presentation have touched my family's lives in different ways. We've utilized the sports programs, we've utilized the theater with my daughter being in stage crew, my nephew now having this amazing opportunity to play for professional volleyball teams and to be on a full ride scholarship in Canada because of the sports teams here in the district. So I encourage you, sometimes when we look at numbers and words on so many different slides, it can seem so far off and it can seem so much like theory. But I want you to think about your everyday lives. Think about your children, your nephews, your nieces, your grandchildren. And if you don't have children in the district, think about the people who are serving you in our local stores, in our local businesses and organizations. They're the police officers, they're the school teachers, they're the people who have come through Brandywine School District, even if they haven't come through your own home. So this referendum will touch everyone's life in a very, very special way. It's not a lot of money. I think about all the subscriptions that I have, Netflix, you know, Hulu and all those things. It could cost, you know, so many different things. I know we have all different kinds of residents. That's easy for me to say, right? But I don't say that lightly because I know that there are some residents in the district where this may be a challenge. Maybe they're on fixed income. I've seen that on some of the posts, and we do take that seriously. The thing to remember about BSD and this community, I've lived in 5 different states, probably more at this point. I lose count with employment. But the thing that I've noticed about Brandywine School District since we've been here, and this is our 4th year in the district, is that this is a family. It's not just schools where people come from all over the place and don't know each other and don't care about each other. In this district, we care about each other. At the school where my kids attend, almost 1/4 of the teachers there are actually graduates of that same school. I've never heard of that. And the only way that that happens is because we make investments in the lives and the future of the students there in a way that changes their lives. And so this is an opportunity for us to change our kids' lives, our students' lives, and our neighborhoods and our communities. So I just encourage you to vote yes on February 13th.
I also see Mary Beth Baxter in the audience, and she is actually the chair of a parent group called Friends of the Brandywine Referendum.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Mary Beth Baxter, and I'm the chair of the Friends of the Brandywine School District Referendum 2024 Committee. I'm also a proud BSD parent, a PTA president at Carcroft. I'm a business owner in the Brandywine 100 area, and I am a product of the Delaware public school system. Needless to say, I'm deeply invested in our public schools, and that's why I come to you tonight. As you have heard, the Brandywine School District is going out for referendum on February 13th, if we didn't say that enough tonight, February 13th. And we need your yes votes. In the simplest terms, Delaware is just a handful of states nationally that require approval to fund schools to support their basic operating needs. Think of it like your household budget, groceries, clothes for your kids, electric bills, water bills, things you need to operate your household. Now, take that same concept and put it on a school-wide scale. So a yes vote means our schools, our teachers, and our students get the vital funding and resources they so desperately need to continue providing the very best for the next generation of Delawareans. With too many no votes, this referendum, plain and simple, doesn't pass. This means teachers will lose their jobs, programs will disappear, and critical services get reduced for our students and our community. I have heard many people say, well, this is just a scare tactic and this won't happen. I'm here to tell you, in fact, it can and will happen. I was in the 6th grade at Stanton Middle School in the Red Clay School District. The district tried to get the referendum to pass and was unsuccessful twice. As a student, I was absolutely devastated. I quickly found out that my favorite after-school basketball program was cut. I felt sucker punched. I kept thinking, why would anyone want to vote no? This just didn't affect basketball. It also included school supplies, new books, and overall morale of my teachers. The very next year, our class sizes grew to about 30 kids. So I have seen what a failed referendum looks like, and plain and simple, it's just terrible. I can still remember it like it was yesterday. I mean, I'm going to tell you, this is a good 35 years ago, and I still remember it to this day. So please, okay? I made a promise to myself then that when I was a kid, that when I was an adult, I would help other students. So I stand before you not just for my kids, their friends, their schools, but for all, ready? 10,400 students and the Brandywine School District to say, vote yes. The future lies in your hands. Seriously, it really lies in every single person's here's hands. If you're with me, pick up your phone, mark your calendar, call, text your friends, share our Facebook page, and invite your friends. And I'm going to leave you two thoughts to think about. Two quotes, I should say. The first one is, "An investment in knowledge pays the best interest," by Benjamin Franklin. And "Education is for improving the lives of others and for leaving your community and world better than you found it," Marion Wright Edelman. So thank you for your support, and remember, vote yes.
Got a couple of district office staff members, if you wouldn't mind grabbing microphone for us, Michelle. Are there any questions in the audience?
Hello? Hi. I'm just wondering why I feel BSD is deserving of an increase in our tax money when the school and Delaware schools in general are rated 4th from the bottom in academic proficiency, yet they're 10th from the top in spending. So apparently there's, I guess, accountability issues, or the money's not being prioritized right in the right areas.
Okay, the question was around proficiency rates. You heard Mr. Rivera say from the get-go, we're not satisfied with our academic performance. Schools were impacted to varying degrees with COVID. We are a comprehensive public school system, which means we have to educate every single student who walks through our doors. There's no selective enrollment, no tests that you have to pass in order to be enrolled. Every student who comes through our door, we are responsible for. You can also see that we have some outstanding academic success that we need to celebrate. Can we do better? Absolutely. But we can't ignore the impact that COVID had. The state, yes, those test scores are down. And that was, I think, a reference to the NAEP tests where we were 4th from the bottom.
Actually started in 2013 and declined from there.
Every year, those tests, and I'm not trying to make excuses, you've heard me say this before, we have work to do. We have written a district success plan that we implemented 2 years ago, solely focused on increasing proficiency. We're in the middle of restructuring our entire curriculum from kindergarten through 12th grade, implementing that and providing professional development to our teachers. So we have taken that charge seriously, not now, 3 years ago when we started writing the district success plan, 2 years ago when we implemented it.
And I know there's a variety of rankings out there, and I know one of the ones takes into effect SAT scores. Delaware is one of a handful of schools that requires all students take the SATs, compared to some of the other schools in the ranking that only students who are college bound and have the initiative and desire to do well on that test take that test. So depending on what ranking you're looking at, that is another component that comes into play. But like Mr. Holler said, there are incredible successes happening in the district, don't want to minimize the proficiency scores that we know are not where they need to be, but that is one component.
I have some clarifying questions about data. Everything about the request so far has talked incrementally about the 45 cents.
I'm sorry, could you say that again?
Yeah, everything so far has been incremental, talking about the 45 cent increase. Can you tell me what the current base rate is that's building upon, so I understand the magnitude of the increase relative to today?
It's an 18% increase. 45 cents on top of $2.51.
Okay.
It's a 17% increase, but I will say at the same time, our debt service is projected to decline 14 cents between now and 2030, but in that time period, 5 cents. So the net would be, 15%.
Okay. So the base rate is $2.51, did I hear correctly?
Correct.
Okay. And then for kind of demographic context, what has happened to the student population in Brandywine from 16 to 24, and what is the population of our teachers and classroom staff over that time?
I can certainly talk about total enrollment. There's been shifts overall in terms of there's choice students who attend our district from other districts. There's also students who attend charter schools from our district. But in that time period, the overall total, while some compositions between schools has varied, the total number has been about the same. But the composition of students, what's called needs-based funding, which is the category of need, the more intense and complex needs of students has increased since that time. So from the state level, we've earned over 100 additional units to support the students in the district. And that comes from a variety of forms, whether or not that's mental health or counselors, social service, but for the most part, it's instructional support. The vast majority is instructional support. So our needs have increased, but the overall student number has stayed about the same.
10,500.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so again, from a teacher and classroom focused basis, the amount of staff that we've had over that time, has it increased? Has it stayed level along with the student population?
It has increased by about 100.
By about 100. So that when you referenced 100 units, that was talking about basically teaching staff.
So when a district, the way the state funding formula works, when a district earns a unit, it's called, which can be deployed in any area. It doesn't necessarily mean a teacher, but the vast majority are teachers, but it also covers librarians and other support personnel in the building, instructional support. And so when we earn a unit from the state, that's usually about 60% state funded, and then the local portion is the 40%. So we've earned from the state, or based on the unit count, we've received an additional 100 units since that time that we would be responsible for the local share of the salary.
Okay. And then the overall staff of the district, inclusive of not just teachers, but especially administration, how has that changed over the period?
It's been level since that time.
Since 16?
Mm-hmm. In some cases, there on the operations side, it's actually been reduced. On the instructional side, it's increased, but overall, it's about the same.
Yes, good evening. First and foremost, I want to applaud teachers for being teachers. There's no discrepancy that your teachers here are very well educated with master's degrees. I'm going to go off track just a little bit and get back on track. When you said about the COVID lockdown relief, there's something I tend to realize whenever somebody says, well, the money's not coming from local people and not coming from each one of us. Whenever somebody mentions the money's coming from the government, I have to stall a little bit and go, wait a minute. Who pays the government? We do. So when somebody says to me, we're getting relief from the government, I'm saying we're getting relief from the taxpayers. So whenever somebody says, we're getting money from the government, I'm saying I'm paying for it because I pay my taxes. Now, you did look at, and unfortunately my phone just clicked out of it, U.S. News. The percentile, I believe, of high school readiness for Brandywine School District was 28.3%, I'm saying from memory. And I believe of those, 88.6% were actually considered graduating high school. One thing that I believe the gentleman behind me had talked about was the test score proficiencies of, if we're doing such a great job, how come math has gone down, reading has gone down? I'm very glad to see that we score very highly in the competitiveness of math contests. I'm just wondering if I counted probably about maybe 14 kids there. Between two teams, maybe 7 or so. I'm wondering if these same kids are the ones that are, I hate to use the word, skewing the proficiencies to a more popular score, while others are not, because obviously my math was pretty darn good in high school, and still pretty darn good it is, even though right now my grammar pretty much isn't. But nevertheless, I'm wondering why. Why, if we're doing so well at the administrative and educative process, why are our kids not doing as well?
Quite simply, I'm going to take it back to the number of days absent that we saw from students, but not just students, but from staff. We were under directive from the state around quarantining and isolation. Even when we returned back from COVID, not this year, but last year, we still had significant staff outage due to quarantining and isolation. When those teachers are missing 5 days, 10 days, 20 days, because they have to by state regulation, or they're at home caring for their kids or family that are impacted by COVID, it has a dramatic effect. For the large portions of the 2 years before that during COVID, we had kids who couldn't come to school because their families were devastated with loss of employment. We had numerous students in high school that didn't come to school because they went out and found employment to support their families. There's a variety of all those nuances that come into play. We're not alone in this. Take a look at the proficiencies of other districts. Will you see that at some of the more elite private schools? You won't. Again, we have students who are performing, and we're the first ones to admit that we've got room to grow, and we're after it.
Well, you do have my respect. We did have a very good conversation prior to the meeting, and I do respect your position. I'm just wondering how more money is going to actually solve
let's think about that.
The issue.
Let's do some math. So we have low test scores. Our students are in need of additional support because of the impact of COVID. Less teachers, less money is going to help us recover from that deficit. Does that piece make sense? I would argue no. Of all times that we need that support, those extra units, that extra attention, it's now. When COVID hit, we were the first district to come out and say, the impact of this, it's going to take us at least 3 years, possibly more, to make up for the learning loss that we see is happening. first district to come out on record and say that. Our first year of recovery from that, I'm considering to be this year, based on that return to normalcy, not having students out to the degree that we've had in the last 3 or 4 years. Same with the educators in absences. So to your argument, does the impact and loss of 100+ educators and funding for after-school time, making connections with kids, educational resources and programming, is that going to help us help the kids recover from that dramatic impact that COVID has caused? The answer is no.
Okay. I'm actually going to amend one of your wording. I'm not really doing an argument. I'm actually doing a statement. But I'm just curious to know if, according to U.S. News, your ratio of teacher to student is 13-to-1. That seems really kind of unrealistic. Is that a true number pretty much, or not really?
It's all how they calculate it, what they consider a teacher, what we consider a teacher. So librarians were probably in that number, art teachers, music teachers, psychologists, guidance counselors. They look typically at a professional staff member. So we're not at a 13-to-1 teacher to student ratio.
So in other words, what we saw on the first slide, pretty much, one of the, I'm sorry, one of the first slides we saw disregard anything of the statistics from U.S. News or any of the other agencies. So really, it's kind of a skewed number of what we're actually seeing. I mean, I'm speaking out as a taxpayer, and I'm also a new taxpayer to Delaware over 5 years, and I'm also a senior. And unfortunately, one of your former governors, I'd be paying $400 less in school tax, but they changed it to being a 10-year residency in the state of Delaware from being a 3-year residency, and I missed it by 9 months. So I have a big stake to this. I have a very large home, which has not been assessed since 1983. And as of July, we're going to get what my council person says, your taxes will either go up, they'll go down, or they won't change. I heard a snicker from over there. I can snicker, but I'm not really snickering. So I'm just wondering what sort of blast I'm going to get in July, and I know you cannot hold off this referendum until we find out how much we're going to get hit by the county outside of the school taxes, of what our property taxes are going to be. This is where the problem is, where I've got to make sure I can still live in my home in Delaware, or if I have to sell my home quickly to move into a smaller home.
So I can't answer your
It's
questions
fear.
about your home or what
Yes.
your taxes will be post reassessment. I can't.
But like I said,
But I can tell you what it means from a district perspective. It's going to be revenue neutral. Got another hand in the back if we
you have my respect on that, but like I said, yours is February 13th, mine, I won't know until July. I do thank you, though, for your time.
Thank you. And then, John, after that gentleman, we've got, oh, okay.
All right, these tax increases you're asking for is for 24 and 25, correct? And then the reassessment hits in 26, correct?
Fiscal year 25, which starts July 1st, 2024. But yes, so July 1st, 2024, then
Is
July
the
1st,
25 cent
2025.
increase. Then you want a 20-cent increase July 1st to 25. And then the reassessment's going to hit July 1st to 26, correct?
That would be July 1st, 2025. That's fiscal year 2026. It would reassessment would happen in that second year, simultaneous.
So the tax rates are going to be adjusted for July 1st to what 25 or 26 for the reassessment?
Should it pass, July 1st of 2025 would be the first 25 cents. No, I'm sorry. July 1st of 2024 would be the first 25 cents. July 1st of 2025 would be the 20 cents that it's going to have to be scaled back to something else after reassessment.
Right. But my question, my real true question is this. As the gentleman down there says, as I am, you know, retired, fixed income, Social Security, those are two massive increases, plus people who've lived, like my neighbor who's lived in his house for 50 years, his assessment value is going to go up 5, 6, 7 times of what he's paying today. So he's going to get a massive tax increase July 1st of 26.
The idea of reassessment is that...
I understand the idea, but it doesn't really work that way. I've been through it too many times in too many different states and too many different districts and jurisdictions.
I was just going to say the idea is the fairness and equity of who is paying what. That homes of similar value should be paying similar values. And there are wide variations across the county. And I can't speak to individual properties, but it's the idea that it should be whatever is the fair share versus inequities now, that there are homes that are paying too much and there are homes that aren't paying what they should pay relative to similar properties. And so it really is, the whole court case was about fairness and equity. It wasn't about raising taxes overall, but what is the tax burden for each individual property. But again, we, like the superintendent said, we can't speak to how one person's is going to change relative to another. So I'm sorry, we can't speak to that part of it.
No, sir.
No.
That's inaccurate. When we say it's supposed to be tax neutral, by law, we are required to be tax neutral at the end of the day. That's why that tax rate gets adjusted. When those reassessment values go up, we have to readjust that tax rate.
Sorry, I should have given you this.
So we're 3 students from Concord High School in the school district, and we have a few words to say. So that presentation was a lot of numbers, right? But that's only because these district employees, they can only state the facts about the referendum in an unbiased manner, and they did a very good job at that. But out of our own free will, the students of Concord High School, we want to offer you a student perspective. We want to offer you some blunt truths, because after all, we are the ones that you will be voting for or against. So let's say that this referendum fails. Every single school in the district will lose some of its sports programs. As an athlete for Concord's cross-country team for 3 years, I can safely say that the lessons in leadership, responsibility, and effort that come from being part of a sports team are irreplaceable. With tens of millions in budget cuts, we are bound to lose many, many sports programs across the district. Depriving our students of the opportunity to grow holistically into healthy, responsible, and hardworking adults. And it's not just sports programs. I know a lot of our audience members were questioning the academic standing of the district, and yes, it has fallen like every other school district in America because of COVID. But as a student who is in good academic standing, I want to assure you that we are still doing impeccable. We just had a student last year go to Stanford, another go to MIT. This year we have another Stanford. I just got into Georgia Tech last weekend. There's a lot of... Thanks. Not a brag. Bragging on our school district, yes. Not myself. And one of our students just got selected to be a candidate for actually 2 just got selected to be a candidate for the Presidential Scholars Program. So academically, we are doing as good as any school district in the country.
Hi, my name is Otis Podell. I am a junior at Concord High School. If this referendum fails, music, arts, and all other club programs will be heard. Currently, I am a member of Concord's band choir. I'm also an officer for almost a dozen clubs and a member of even more. Firsthand, I could testify the importance of every single one of these programs. I have founded the Make and Change Club, which focuses on pulling students together of differing backgrounds to learn together and collaborate on tasks they all care for, providing a sense of unity and belonging. These programs open up opportunities for students to explore worlds they never knew existed, being immersed in new environments that students can dip their toes into in order to see they potentially have found a new sense of passion, potentially set themselves up for a future career path. On February 13th, thousands of students risk losing the biggest factors that make them feel like they belong in schools. They risk never discovering their talents at the trombone, painting, or anything else they desire. We, the children, need your vote.
If the referendum does not pass, 117 teachers and staff stand to lose their jobs, at a time when convincing anyone to be a teacher is so difficult. More than 1 in 7 of all of our teachers may lose their jobs. All of these factors will cause the quality of education in the district to deteriorate, and the houses within the district will depreciate in value. You may save a couple of thousands of dollars on property taxes over the span of a decade, but your house will lose tens of thousands of dollars in value by the time that you sell it.
$324 is an increase in annual property tax for the average taxpayer as a result from the referendum over 2 years ago. Like our CFO said, it's going to be an increase of 15% overall in taxes. Since 2016, during the last referendum, inflation alone has risen 25%. In December of 2023, inflation has risen up 3.4%. Imagine you had everything you need today with your income from 2016. No adjustment for inflation and no raises. That's what the district has been doing for the last 8 years. To put that in context, those seniors who promoted the last referendum in 2016, they're now 26 years old. 8 years ago, teachers around the country were tired of students trying to flip their water bottles. 8 years ago, the Broncos beat the Panthers in the Super Bowl. I'm not joking. The Broncos and the Panthers were relevant 8 years ago. In those 8 years, we have gone through COVID, free and reduced lunch programs, Chromebooks for every student, and numerous building renovations throughout the schools with a huge environment and mental health resources. The Brandywine School District has been able to get your children a great education through the hardest times in the country. A simple yes can mean wonders to them.
And like they said, a similar referendum failed in 2019. And after Brandywine School District was forced to stretch what was meant to be a 3-year budget to 8 years instead, we lose to stand our reputation as one of the best school districts in Delaware. If you think this referendum will pass easily, let me remind you that Appoquinimink School District just failed all 3 clauses of their referendum. One of those clauses failed by just 4 votes. Every single vote matters. Get your friend from work to go with you and vote. If your parents are free, convince them to take a couple minutes out of their day to vote for their grandchildren. If your child is 18 already, get them to vote at his own school so his juniors can enjoy the same education that he did. Every single vote matters. On February 13th, when you cast your vote at the nearest Brandywine School District school, think of the 10,011 other students exactly like us whose education hangs in the balance. Think of the teacher who gets paid far less than she deserves but still walks into work every single day with a smile on her face because she just loves the kids that she teaches. Think of the 1,171 other teachers and staff exactly like her who work in this district. Think of your children or your neighbor's children or the one boy that you see every single day walk into his bus stop in the freezing cold. Is there really anything else that you would rather pay taxes for than for their education?
As a senior in this district, I've had so many great experiences. I look back with so much appreciation. I've been in this district my entire life, and I can personally say that I've been given an exceptional education that has prepared me for college. I see all of the hard work the teachers and staff have put in to help me grow as a person. Not only is education so important and valuable, extracurriculars and support are so necessary to create well-rounded individuals. If the referendum does not pass, students like me may not get that same experience, and that is not right. Education is the backbone for society, and investing in it is the best way to guarantee that the future generations are prepared and able to run our economy, workplaces, homes, and take care of you in the future. This vote goes deeper than the money out of your wallet. How do you want to leave my generation? By taking away the limited resources that we have, or letting us thrive as we are? Do not let the children who cannot vote be a victim to the financial issues that we are not old enough to face. All of you adults get to make decisions out in the polls on behalf of teens and children like me, and students like us, tens and thousands more to come. So hear us when we say, that we need your vote for the referendum to pass. We need you to spread the word to your friends and family to get every single one of them to vote for the future of the Brandywine School District. Thank you so much. Are there any questions for us?
Thank you, and looking at the time, again, if you have any additional questions, we'll stay afterwards. If you have a question after you drive home and you're wondering, on our district website, there's a spot on the front homepage that'll take you to the referendum section and a link that you can submit those questions, and we'll get right back to you within 24 hours with an answer. Thank you for your time.
Hello. I am going to speak quickly, and I'm not going to give you any numbers to think about. First and foremost, I'm a parent in this district. Being a parent is my most important job. I'm also on the board for Brandywine Little League, who uses Brandywine School District property. We have over 500 kids in our league. It gives them something to do in addition to school. And seeing their friends on the fields just makes it even better. I know there are other athletic organizations who also use Brandywine School District facilities and properties, and all of them make our community better. I moved here from Pennsylvania, where they just raise your taxes and send you a bill. I'm thankful to live here, where I can be informed and make a choice that will not only benefit my kids, but all the other kids. COVID keeps coming up. My son is in 6th grade. He has had anxiety since the day he started kindergarten. The staff in our district that supported him to get to school is incredible. Quarantine devastated him. There were days when he said that he would rather not be alive than have to do Zoom school. When you point out low test scores, kids not meeting standards, I don't even care about that. My kid could have the lowest test scores in the district, but he's here. And everyone in this district at every level that I have spoken to, they care about my son. They have saved my son. So you can talk test scores all you want, but the things that Brandywine offers to our kids in addition to academics is what is important to me. He's a good person. He's here. He's a role model to younger kids. And the fact that he has after-school activities and middle school sports to get him involved, to overcome his anxiety and meet new friends. I know that a lot of kids really think that that is important. And a no vote will mean that all of these after-school activities will be gone. And then you're going to complain about all the kids in your neighborhood that are misbehaving because they don't have anything to do. These kids play these sports and join these clubs with no cost. They're open to everyone. The communities that these sports and clubs and groups create in our schools, I would not want my kids to go anywhere else. And if anyone else has any other questions or concerns, and you're not leaving here saying, I'm voting yes, come talk to me and I will tell you why you cannot vote no. Please vote yes. Not just for my Nolan, but for all the other kids in this district. Thank you.
Thank you for your time and attention. Again, we'll stick around for additional questions. Have a good night.